Welcome to episode 32 of the Security Matters podcast, where we bring you the latest news, views and opinion from across the UK's dedicated security business sector. My name's Brian Sims and I'm the editor of Security Matters magazine. We're delighted that this podcast is sponsored by the Security Event, which runs at the NEC in Birmingham from the 8th to the 10th of April 2025. Security Matters is once again serving as the lead media partner for the exhibition. To register for the show, visit www.theSecurityEvent.co.uk. In terms of the latest news, Securitas Technology, the specialist in security solutions integration and alarm monitoring, has announced the release of its 2025 Global Technology Outlook report. Now in its 7th year, the report is packed full of data-driven insights designed to help organisations around the world learn more about the trends and innovations impacting the future of security technology. This year's 54-page report focuses on 5 trending topics: emerging technologies, artificial intelligence and data analytics, cloud technology, cybersecurity and data privacy, and last but not least, sustainability. By exploring these trends, clients can delve into unique insights from the industry's leading security technology manufacturers, as well as the marketplace, including exclusive survey data on technology adoption, implementation and future investments, all shared by electronic security decision makers from over 1,100 organisations around the world. Emerging technologies are continuing to bring new and exciting innovations to the electronic security industry, from video surveillance with built-in AI through to frictionless forms of biometric access control. The introduction of state-of-the-art features and solutions will help organisations to simplify system management, increase their security capabilities, and also experience the next generation of security and safety technology. The top 3 emerging technologies are cloud computing, AI, and predictive analytics. Of the practitioners interviewed, 31% have implemented touchless biometrics. 42% of those who have not yet implemented this technology are interested in doing so within the next 18 months. Further, 39% believe data privacy and compliance concerns restrict the implementation of emerging electronic security technologies. The presence of AI and data analytics within the electronic security industry continues to spark interest and innovation. However, the perception of these technologies, their benefits, and the role they play alongside humans is constantly changing. Organisations are seeing the value of AI, but how can businesses find the right balance between AI and human expertise within their security parameters? Further, how can security leaders use this new breed of data to their advantage? Gen AI is set to redefine video surveillance monitoring by enabling security operators to command systems conversationally and extract detailed information on demand or via automated alerts. For example, the system could notify an operator about an anomaly by describing it in detail in plain language. Similarly, the operator could then ask the system to answer follow-up questions designed to help with the investigation. With Gen AI helping to proactively identify these types of scenarios, purposeful steps can now be taken by humans to help prevent potential incidents from materialising in the first place. Our first guest on episode 32 is David Hughes, Head of Product Management at Comelit-PAC, the integrated security solutions developer. David worked as a regional sales manager at PAC International from January 2004 until May 2006, before moving on to national account sales and global product manager positions at Stanley Security Products. David joined Comelit-PAC in November last year, following a 4.5-year spell at the Acer Abloy Group, where he served as the company's product manager for the EMEA region. During our interview, David examines the subject of systems interoperability in some detail alongside systems integration and data security. There's also some key insights into what the future holds for product progression at Comelit-PAC.
Thank you for joining us on the podcast, David. First of all, what does interoperability mean in the context of security systems, and why is it so important for modern security solutions like Comelit-PAC's CCTV systems?
Interesting question. I'd have probably answered this slightly differently if you'd asked me this a couple of weeks ago. But I recently attended Essen, Security Essen over in Germany, and that this very topic was discussed in terms of the interoperability. It seems to be on every installer and customer's lips at the moment. But as you say, what does it mean in reality? For me, simply put, I suppose its security systems should, and the key word here is should, rather than could, work together to allow data from the different systems to be used to manage and protect our customers' buildings and their staff. So that's really what interoperability means in terms of the word. But what does it actually mean in terms of now? Is it new? Is it old? PAC, for example, have been using events from our systems for many years. I won't name certain ones, but there was a major TV studios down in London where 25 years ago, PAC were using events from the thermostat to open the skylights to let the temperature cool down, and when the thermostats went down, it closed the sky vents. So it's been done for many, many years. But now these connections are not just wires or sensors, but they're APIs and direct database links. So why is this so important for our own Comelit-PAC solutions? Making our systems easy to integrate with and sharing data. And think of data in this case as, let's say, a door being opened. It allows the operator to provide the information when required rather than requested. So in the past, if you had all this information, it was in the system, but following an incident, the operator would have to piece it together to find out what actually happened from all the different systems to understand and then address or deal with the incident. Now, with these being linked, they can not only see what happened post the event, but also during. And that's the key thing, during, meaning they can use live data to decide how to respond. I suppose an example could be, a basic example, I suppose, is a door opening on a Saturday when the operator is not expecting this. So he has to decide how to react. Previously, they would have seen the event on the system and they'd have to find the matching events on the CCTV, the intruder alarm, whatever third-party systems that it was linked into. But now by linking the data, let's say a PSIM solution, a physical security information management system, it would have flagged the alarm coming from the access control solution and also display the live CCTV images. And that means that the operator, a security guard, the lady or gentleman on reception, whoever it is that's in receipt of this information, they've got more data to hand from this interoperability of systems working together so they can then decide how to react. So in other words, if the door's been opened, it's a valid person, they can ignore. If they don't know it, it could be an intruder, then they can take the appropriate action. So I suppose I've expanded on that really, but that's to me what interoperability means.
And how does Comelit achieve seamless integration between its own systems and secondary security systems, David? Could you talk us through some of the key technologies or protocols that make this possible?
Yeah, but I'd just like to start. I'm the head of product management for the Comelit-PAC business. I'm not head of development. So I'm just hoping my answer will be from a product management perspective. I'm sure if you had someone who was deep into development, etc., they'd probably give you a slightly different answer. So I'm just hoping that how I respond to this is sufficient. As we've just discussed, we can provide various methods of integrating, be it relays or be it APIs, etc., from a Comelit-PAC solution to third-party systems, allowing our installers to decide which is the best one for the application. Okay, so always got to be what's best for the application. There's not one size doesn't fit all in this case. So I suppose the most basic, and this is still heavily used due to the ease of configuration, is just got good old-fashioned wires and I/O to link systems. So this could just be a relay output from the access control system going into the CCTV system. And I don't see this changing anytime soon. An example, like I say, would be a relay changing state when a valid credential is presented, which could be used to unset the intruder alarm. And this type of integration works well for ad hoc or on-the-fly integrations. I suppose that's been around for 20, 30 years now. We have moved on a bit. We're a bit more modern. So I suppose the more modern but more complex integration requirement does require a slightly different skill set, is to use something called an SDK, a software development kit, or an API, an application interface, or in conjunction together. And these types provide far greater flexibility and options, but they do need to be already available and cannot be quickly used without prior thought. So unlike the relay where an installer can just go to site very quickly and join two bit of wire to join two systems together, you have to think about what you're trying to do. You sort of ask, what does Comelit-PAC do? So for example, our access control solution called Access Central, it has an implemented API using WCF, and we don't expect customers to access it directly, but we provide a client-side SDK to integrate into our application, etc. And we have multiple third-party applications which will utilize this, from visitor management, a company called EntrySign, to time and attendance thinking software, to full SMS security management solutions from companies like Cortec. And we should also think about this many different forms of APIs: REST, SOAP, WCF, and please don't ask me to go into detail on all these. Again, I'm no developer. I'm a product manager, not the developer. But normally one party would need to develop the integration to work with the API. So you can see this is not something that can be done on an ad hoc basis. It is time consuming and it could be costly in terms of development time for the third party, their engineers. But the advantage of this is once you have done that integration between the two systems, then it can be used over and over and over again. So it is a benefit. I don't know whether to class this as an alternative or just a different way of sharing data, but it's worthwhile mentioning. You've got things like LDAP or AD, which can be used to integrate if you're only required to share information rather than events. These types of link are ideal for HR and HR systems. So big companies have, well, not even big companies nowadays, I suppose most companies use AD, where they may have their HR input in the first and last name of people, etc., into one system, and that can automatically populate the access control solution, saves having to duplicate it. And so I suppose that's another way of doing it. And then finally, and again, if we hadn't been having this conversation today, we'd had this conversation a month ago, I don't think I'd have really heard of this or known anything about it. But when I was over at the Essen, of a trade show in Essen, they were talking about data sharing. My description may be wrong, but this is my understanding of it. It's a central pot where all systems can send the information they wish to share and collect the information they wish to use. And maybe this will simplify the integrations even more in the future. But as I say, that's only something I heard about a couple of weeks ago when I was over at the show in Essen in Germany.
When integrating multiple security solutions such as access control, CCTV and alarm systems, what are the main challenges Comelit-PAC has encountered and how have you managed to overcome them?
I think whenever you're doing some sort of integration, sitting down and discussing it is always going to be key. So you need to know who the other parties are and who the contacts are, as a lot of the time as being a manufacturer, you're relying on the installer to gather and share this information. As you're always one or two steps away from the actual customer. So that's key. Communication is key, I think. I suppose next, specification, they sort of go hand in hand with communication. So understanding the scope. What does the customer require for the integration to provide? And understanding which will be the primary system. And that's really important. So whether it's a PSIM or the SMS or the access control solution, whichever it is, which is going to be the primary solution the customer is going to use to digest the information which is provided. And when that's not clear, it does lead to confusion and duplication of work, because people are not understanding where they need to send the information or gather information from. And trying to mitigate these, we always on a new integration try to assign an account manager to the installer and ideally for the end user, because that way they can be heavily involved, ideal from the beginning, so we can be certain our solution will provide the functionality the customer requires, and that's key, understanding what the customer requires. Access Central has been used as main system in multiple systems, or as a secondary, providing data to other systems, as I explained before, via the API and SDK, etc. And the key is understanding what data is being requested and what it's to be used for. Plus, and we've tried to make it simple as possible, we document our API and SDK as best we can to provide the answers to all the questions. But again, if we're being really honest, it doesn't go smoothly all the time, and the way you handle this is very important. I mean, it's all to do with, like, go back to communication relationships. An example of this, and I'm sure you'll understand if I don't share the client's details, etc. But we had a project where we were a secondary solution going back to a primary, where we were using Access Central to manage the doors, and they wanted the primary system to be able to remotely unlock and manage the doors from their UI. Now, our API supported this, quite happily. It's one of the basic features and functionalities, but the primary system hadn't integrated it correctly. But this was then became urgent. It was something that had to be worked with straight away. So again, the account manager worked closely with the third-party primary system with the customer. We helped them identify where their integration could be improved, and we made a couple of tweaks to our APIs to ease that. And in the end, we provided the customer what they needed. Well, it goes right back to what I said at the start. It's communication and specification. They're the keys to this.
And following on from that, David, can you give us an example of a successful integration where Comelit-PAC was used as the primary system, and also outline how it improved the overall security setup?
I'll avoid saying the company names if that's okay, because obviously this is confidential. Some of these businesses wouldn't like to have the full integration out there in the press, shall we say. But we've got multiple systems in various verticals, going from critical infrastructure, blue light, education, and prisons, where the PAC software is used as the head end, the primary system. And examples where our system is part of an SMS solution. So examples of this, suppose a blue light customer. When blue light, just for clarity, I mean like fire brigade, police, ambulance, those types of systems, where our access software is linked to the intruder alarm, the building management, to Comelit intercom and locking cylinders, where the solutions help them not just control the administration of credentials, because that's what everyone thinks about when you think about access control, but it also manages their fire workers, their disaster reaction teams. So that's one example. We also have long-time relationships with some data centers, an interesting cruise ships. That's an interesting opportunity that came across us, not something you would normally expect for an access control system, but cruise ships. And obviously industrial companies who have similar issues where they've used software to address. But could I just quickly say that integrating into PAC Access Central as a secondary system also provides our customers benefits. We've worked closely with many third-party companies. One that springs to mind is a company in Germany called Metasec, who used our SDK to develop a full visitor management solution, which they use all the time in Germany. It provides a means of easily giving visitors access to certain areas of their customer systems. And another part that they did off this, again, is allows alarm handling management. So you can see there that the integration into PAC is not just a primary or a secondary. And we've got numerous others which I can sort of think about. We've got customers who use it for managing canteen management, a cashless vending, a single credential for multiple applications, or just basically to improve their security systems. As you'd imagine, just making sure we know who goes where and when.
Data security is always a concern when connecting different systems, of course. How does Comelit-PAC ensure that integration doesn't compromise security or otherwise lead to vulnerabilities in the system?
I'm probably going to go back to what I said earlier, where I'm head of product management, and if we had one of our development team on here, they may go into this in a bit more detail, but I'll give you my understanding on this. And as I say, I'm sure if one of our developers was on here, they'd be able to go into a much more detail. But I suppose the way I'd look at this is with our API and SDK, we provide a certificate-based encrypted comms to protect data when it's in transit. And we're really careful in what data we choose to expose via the SDK. Because obviously we can enable or disable different features and functionalities and information that's being passed. So by managing that data, that secures it. Beyond this, obviously we'd always recommend strong standard IT policies are followed. Securing the application is only one thing, but protecting it against a human element is just as important as any encryptions. And obviously all our integrations are subject to an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, and a license key will only be provided to enable the API once we've reviewed and understood the application. There's been times where I've received an application to integrate into our system, and we've deemed that actually the use case for it and the parallel system wasn't ideal. So we have occasionally, not very often, we have occasionally declined an SDK request.
And looking ahead, David, what innovations or advancements do you foresee in the field of security system interoperability, and precisely how is Comelit-PAC positioning itself to be a leader in this space?
The interoperability is changing all the time. Again, when I was over in Essen, I'd heard of this term called data pool. I think this will be the next big step forward in terms of improving the way information is shared between systems, because this is what we all want. The information has to be easily and quickly shared without complexity and ideally without individual integrations. That's sort of been led by what we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years with things like ChatGPT, showing that, and there are other versions, so not just ChatGPT, I know there's other versions of it, but I suppose this does sort of show that data, when used correctly and shared, can add value and it can help you learn about how your system works. So I suppose if you imagine a system is monitoring the current being drawn by a reader and spots that over a period of time it's increasing, that could indicate there's a fault on that reader. And by using that data and using the interoperability, you could send a message out to the maintenance provider to say, come and look at this reader, and you could be predicting a fault before it actually occurs. And this is something which we're keen to look into at Comelit-PAC, because that's important to make sure that security system's always working and downtime is less than ideal. And I suppose finally, I'd probably say that our consumer experience at home is also, or has changed over the past 3 to 5 years, and that's being driven into our markets as well. I mean, you may have an Alexa or another similar type device at home, and you can sort of say to Alexa, turn the television on, turn the washing machine on, or you can be away from home and you can start to interact with your central heating, your hot water, whatever it may be at home, without being at home. And I suppose that's coming into the security sector as well, where we want to be able to make decisions based upon information being provided when you're not actually in the building or on the site. And again, these are things which over the next 12 to 18 months, you will see more and more of these types of integrations happening on lots of systems. So I suppose, again, it goes back to what I said at the start. Customers are now expecting these integrations as a given, and that's something as a manufacturer, Comelit-PAC have to do.
Returning to the news now, and Resilience First and Cranfield University have combined to develop and introduce a new model for organisational resilience. This provides a practical means for organisations to create inherent resilience, defined as their ability to absorb severe adverse events according to their risk appetite, and also to determine whether this resilience is sufficient to defend against future events. The world finds itself in a period of unprecedented levels of volatility, disruption and change. As a direct result of this, resilience has become common language, but it's often poorly defined and understood. It's against this backdrop that Resilience First and Cranfield University have delivered the new model for organisational resilience, alongside some initial illustrative essential outcomes and indicators designed to support organisations' implementation of the new model. The model for organisational resilience expands on this definition and introduces a measurement framework based around 5 key dimensions: social, financial, workforce, infrastructure and environment. Taken together, they form the core of a strategic business approach and support resilience by ensuring that organisations can anticipate change and address vulnerabilities proactively, absorb the impacts of change or disruption effectively, and also adapt strategy and business models to a changed or changing context. The model for organisational resilience requires organisations to determine what matters from a resilience perspective, i.e. the aforementioned essential outcomes, set targets, i.e. resilience indicators, and also measure effectiveness through stress testing and from the lessons learned as a result of real-world events. The new model for organisational resilience was initially previewed on the 9th of October, with over 150 resilience professionals joining Resilience First Executive Director Rick Cudworth and Cranfield University's Professor David Hughes for a virtual preview of the model. Resilience First members were later given an exclusive deep dive on the new model for organisational resilience. The readers of Security Matters who missed the online sessions should access the news story on our website, which contains the necessary links. Also joining us on episode 32 of the Security Matters podcast are Alan O'Connor and Jason Hillier. Alan is the Managing Director at Frontline Security Solutions, while Jason serves as the company's Sales Director. Alan turns his attentions towards the biometrics arena, duly focusing on the end-user experience with reference to key vertical sectors including finance and healthcare, as well as confronting the challenges posed by legacy systems and the need for compliance with the privacy laws. In parallel, Jason reviews today's mobile credentials, the push for contactless access, and the emergence of new technologies involved with the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence.
Welcome to the podcast, Alan. Biometrics have transformed traditional security measures by turning individuals into their own new access keys. Can you describe how this shift is positively impacting operational efficiencies and risk management in sectors including the finance and healthcare worlds?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Biometrics have indeed revolutionized security by effectively transforming the human body into a secure key. The shift has had a profound impact on sectors like finance and healthcare, where operational efficiency and risk management are critical. For example, in healthcare, biometric systems streamline access to sensitive areas. They ensure that only authorized personnel gain entry. They reduce human error and they prevent breaches. In finance, then, biometrics bolster security by replacing passwords and cards, which are often prone to loss or theft. The efficiency gain from biometric cards systems reduces operational friction. No more forgotten passwords or lost access cards, while enhancing security measures, which are then key for compliance and risk management.
And biometric systems facilitate smooth and rapid entry, of course, thereby enhancing visitor satisfaction. In high traffic environments, Alan, how do you balance the need for rigid security with the desire for a seamless user experience?
Yeah, I think the key word there is balance, Brian. Yeah, striking that balance between tight security and seamless user experience is crucial. Particularly in high traffic environments like hospitals or airports. At Frontline, we design biometric systems that provide fast, accurate identification, minimizing bottlenecks during peak times. Our systems are often configured for quick scans, such as facial recognition or fingerprint scanning. This allows rapid access without compromising security. The key is to enhance the flow of people while ensuring that security measures remain robust and non-intrusive. It's really about making security invisible to the user, but highly effective in the background.
Integrating biometric technology with existing legacy systems presents various challenges, of course, among them significant privacy concerns. How does Frontline Security Solutions address these challenges, and what strategies do you implement to ensure compliance with the privacy laws?
Integrating biometric technology with legacy systems presents two main challenges, really. It's compatibility in the first instance and privacy. At Frontline, we ensure smooth integration by employing adaptable platforms that communicate with older systems, allowing organizations to adapt biometrics without a complete overhaul. Privacy is also a major concern, particularly when dealing with personal biometric data. We address this by implementing advanced encryption techniques, ensuring data is securely and accessed only by authorized personnel. Moreover, we strictly adhere to GDPR and other regional privacy regulations, regularly auditing our processes to maintain compliance and build trust with our clients.
Jason, the 2024 State of Physical Access Control Report indicates a strong trend towards mobile identities. What do you see as the key factors driving this shift, and how do they align with modern workplace trends and expectations?
Thanks, Brian. Good to speak to you. The trend towards mobile identities is driven by several key factors: convenience, security, and the rise of hybrid work models. In the modern workplace, employees expect seamless, contactless access to facilities using devices they already carry, such as smartphones. This aligns with the broader shift towards digitization and flexibility in work environments. The ability to remotely issue and revoke mobile credentials provides an added layer of security while maintaining convenience to today's employees' demands.
Mobile credentials support a bring your own device style approach and offer contactless access options, of course. Post-pandemic, Jason, how important are these features in new security system implementations, and what feedback are you receiving from your end users?
Well, Brian, post-pandemic, we've seen sharp rise in demand for contactless access or frictionless access as organisations prioritise hygiene and safety. BIOD, or bring your own device policies, support this need, reducing the reliance on physical badges or cards. This feature has become especially important in multi-tenanted buildings and corporate campuses where large volumes of people access facilities daily. The feedback from users has been overwhelmingly positive, with many citing the convenience and added security. It also offers businesses flexibility, particularly with remote workforces.
And finally, Jason, and looking ahead, how do you envision the integration of mobile credentials with emerging technologies, including the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, to further enhance security and operational efficiencies in, say, commercial buildings?
Well, looking forward, the integration of mobile credentials with IoT and AI holds incredible potential. We envision a future where the building security systems are fully interconnected, with mobile credentials serving as a central hub for access and monitoring. IoT sensors could communicate with mobile devices to personalize environments, adjusting lighting or temperatures based on individual preferences. For instance, where AI would continuously learn access patterns and preemptively address security risks. This would significantly enhance both security and operational efficiencies, creating smarter and more responsive commercial buildings.
Major insurance companies have joined forces in their bid to ramp up efforts aimed at cracking down on fraudsters who are seeking to manipulate the UK insurance market with bogus claims and also attempting to dupe innocent individuals into buying fake insurance policies. At the heart of the move is an all-new insurance fraud charter devised in conjunction with central government. Last year alone, 84,400 fraudulent claims worth circa £1.1 billion were detected by the Association of British Insurers. That represents a 16% increase in terms of the number of detected claims when compared to the prior 12 months. The Insurance Fraud Bureau is currently investigating upwards of 6,000 suspected fraudulent motor insurance claims, which could be linked to crash for cash scams. In total, this is estimated to be worth over £70 million in potential fraud. The new voluntary insurance fraud charter is designed to identify loopholes in the insurance market, enhance collaboration and criminal justice outcomes, better understand the scale of the problem, and also improve victim support. The pledges involved include the following. The National Crime Agency's National Assessment Centre is carrying out a review into the role of professional enablers in the insurance sector, whereby someone provides false evidence to support a bogus insurance claim. Identifying policies being exploited by illegal insurance intermediaries, i.e. someone pretending to be a broker or otherwise selling completely fake insurance to customers. Strengthening data security measures to stop insurance fraudsters from using customer details to target specific individuals. And reviewing the tactics and websites being used by fraudsters to promote bogus insurance offers. This includes looking at the vulnerable victims notifications process, which has proven successful in the banking sector, in order to better identify and support the victims of insurance fraud. The charter itself covers the clear majority of the insurance sector, ranging from general insurance firms right through to underwriters. It has the backing of the British Insurance Brokers Association, the London and International Insurance Brokers Association, Lloyd's of London, the Lloyd's Market Association, and also the International Underwriting Association alongside the ABI. According to the latest crime survey statistics issued by the Office for National Statistics, fraud is the most common form of crime in England and Wales. Our final guest on episode 32 is Mark Brookes, Global Products and Standards Director at Gunnebo Safe Storage. Mark joined Gunnebo UK in April 1998 as a trade sales manager. Subsequently, he held positions as product line manager, business development manager, and also global product manager. His current role began in June of this year. During our interview, Mark looked at several elements of the standards domain and the need to balance advanced and tech-driven safe storage solutions with traditional and trusted security measures.
Thank you for joining us, Mark. First of all, as chair of SEN Technical Committee 263 and given your involvement in European standards, how do you see standards evolving to meet the challenges of smart security technology in a safe storage arena?
A good question. Well, standards are constantly evolving, and they mirror the threats and potential threats that we see. but also they have to mirror how people are using their products. And as in all walks of life, there is a drive towards greater connectivity, greater use of smart technology. And as committees who work on standards, we take in those demands. We listen to customers, we listen to police, insurers, to the banking industry. And I think what will happen in the coming years is there will be greater connectivity in the way that people access their safes, their strong rooms, their secure environments, and standards will evolve to meet those demands, because the standard really is a benchmark for the consumer in all standards. And I think standards in the security industry are no different. So yeah, we will evolve. We have to evolve as life today is evolving. We all have smartphones, and there's a greater dependency on those. People want to take that connectivity into their secure environment. Allied to that, of course, we operate in an environment where the users of safes and strong rooms are very different to the way they may have been 30, 40 years ago, with fewer people, more remote working. Regional managers are now country managers. And so the control and monitoring of these systems is much more complex, and standards evolve to reflect that.
And can you share some insights on your role in creating and maintaining European standards for safes and high security products? What drives the need for updates, and how will these standards benefit the industry and its end users?
The way we create and maintain standards is the same for all standards, not just the security industry. Anyone can request a standard or an amendment or an addition to a standard, and there's a due process through the CEN network. So that request would come into my committee, and then it's a case of asking all of the signatories, of which there are 34 nations who subscribe to CEN. Is this something that we work on? Is it something that you're experiencing in your markets? Now, such is the state of the European community that we find that a challenge which is being experienced in one market is very often mirrored in others. So invariably, we get the answer yes. Now, from there, we start to look at it. We look at how products need to be adapted. Is that a new methodology that's being used to attack? Is it a way of hacking the electronic locks that are used? So we start to work on that. So that's one area of update. But in parallel to that, the people involved in generating and writing these standards aren't just manufacturers. Insurance companies are involved, representatives of the banks, representatives of the police forces around the 34 nations, all have an input. If we, or they rather, reflect a new methodology that's being used, new tools that are being used, for example, physical attacks on ATMs now are increasing. And we're seeing some of the life-saving tools used by the fire services utilized in trying to force open ATMs. So we're now looking at ways in which we can adapt the standard, update the standard to take into account attacking units with this type of equipment. So how should we set about testing the effectiveness against those tools, then incorporating them into the standard and issuing updates and renewals accordingly? And that goes for all of the standards. And that means that customers who use those standards as benchmarks, the insurers, the banking industry, etc., have the confidence in knowing that the benchmark that they're using is current and, as best we can, is future-proof. We never know from one day to the next what new development in impact tools or cutting equipment, braking equipment is going to be. but we try our best to stay one step ahead. And if we're not, then we pull out all the stops to react quickly and effectively to resolve the issue.
Your background, of course, is in product and management operations. How do you balance the demand for advanced and tech-driven safe storage solutions with traditional and trusted security measures?
How do I do that? I think the best way is to sum it up in one word, and that's listening. A customer solution or a future solution is always based on the pains and the threats that the customer is experiencing. And it's always based on a physical product. So we always start by looking at the security level of protection that's required, whether that be a low or medium or high risk safe, a strong room, or even if we look at the protection of documents. Even in today's world, there are still a lot of hard paper documents that are used by organizations around the world. So we begin by looking at the basic fundamental security need. Then we start to consider how the product is being used. And at the moment, we have a set of standards relating to locks. There are all sorts of features and functions in those locks which can apply to the operational processes of the user. Now, if there isn't a solution from what is already existing, then we start to look at new technology. Then we start to look at more secure communication protocols between the controller of the safe or the estate and the product in the field. And we can incorporate lots of different elements in terms of software and connectivity, which may not be standardized within our industry at this moment in time. But we can reference to other cybersecurity standards, and we can show the resilience of the solutions to those standards, because the standards in our industry are by no means the be all and end all. We can reference other areas, and particularly cybersecurity.
And speaking from your position as a leader in the fields of standardization and secure storage, what trends or technologies do you think will be central to the future of secure storage solutions, and notably so as the industry continues to integrate digital and biometric security?
I think as we go forward, standardization will reflect more of the need for that. We're looking at different types of communication protocols. So the use of NFC, RFID, close proximity authentication is something that is developing. We see organizations now who want to integrate access to their secure units along with their complete access control system within their estate. So being able to monitor people and basically audit people through the use of these products is becoming more and more important. Allied to that, we see an increase in out of hours access. So for example, the traditional safe deposit locker that you may have seen in films or be familiar with, where you go to your bank and you look for access, someone from the bank comes with you, you both have your own keys to the locker, it's opened, the bank employee walks away, and then you have access to your safe deposit locker and the contents. The demand for that is changing. We see a constantly evolving demand for 24-hour access. We see an increasing demand for self-service. People want instant gratification, instant access. And so from our point of view, we are seeing an increase in automated safe deposit locker systems. And those bring their own challenges to security. How do you verify the identity of the person that's coming to use the box? Back in the day, you may be a familiar face to the bank manager. That's not always a good way of ensuring security, but of course, it's one of the factors. The increased use of biometric identification and the other proximity methods I mentioned earlier have to be integrated into the security solution. And the standards have to reflect that as well. But it's all about making sure that the standards and the tests that are written provide this benchmark again, which is of the right security level. What I mean by that is there's low risk, and not wishing to offend anyone, but someone who has a safe in their home has one level of demand. Take that all the way up to the scale to the central bank, then of course they have different needs. They have different security demands. And finding something which is applicable for the residential user on various levels all the way through to the security manager of the Federal Reserve, that's the balance. That's the critical thing we have to do in security. We have to look at the threat and we have to provide a solution to that level of threat.
In what ways does your participation in technical committees influence your own work and also supports alignment with evolving security standards, Mark?
What it allows me, and not just me, but all of the people that participate in the standards and the working groups that drive them, both at the CEN TC 263 level, but also the 34 national mirror groups that feed into those working groups and TC 263, is that everyone has the opportunity to understand the reasons behind the changes, the developments that are taking place, so that banks, insurers, and manufacturers like ourselves know what is coming. It's not a big reveal at the end of the day when the standard is published. Everyone, every stakeholder has the opportunity to make comment and to understand what is happening and to prepare for that. So it could be as little as, for example, we're changing the way that safes need to be anchored. Now, we're not, but if we were, it gives manufacturers plenty of time to prepare because drawings have to be changed. Manufacturing processes may need to be changed. And that comes at a big investment and a big commitment. Users may need to change the way in which they prepare their buildings to accept products. So there's always a run-in, there's always a time frame involved in this. There's never big reveal that suddenly, out of the blue, oh, my safes have to be blue now, for example, when they're all grey or black. That sudden thing doesn't happen. So everyone has the opportunity to buy in and to get the knowledge during the process. It's not publicly available, of course, because we don't want to give any heads up to the would-be safe or strong room breaker. But in the industry, within insurers, within the banking sector, within the manufacturers, there is enough build-up so that everyone knows how these things are what is happening and what the consequences of these changes could be. Really, it gives us a heads up, but it also gives everyone else a heads up. And there's various examples which have demonstrated that. Whenever a new standard is published, there is a queue of people with the testing houses, the testing laboratories, all wanting to update, all wanting to be first. So everyone has that opportunity, not just Gunnebo Safe Storage. But it does help because we're always able to align with what is coming, but again, in the same way as all of the manufacturers do.
And finally, Mark, with Chubb Safes nearing its 190th year of operations, how do you feel Gunnebo Safe Storage can honour that tremendous heritage while in parallel forging ahead with smart security solutions?
Well, I think it's a great milestone that Chubb Safes is 190 years old. It's 190 years since Chubb patented the first burglary-resistant safe. But you don't get to be 190 years in this industry without adapting to the changing requirements of customers and the markets. And I think the next 190 years will see further adaptation. We bring in connected and smart product because, of course, that is how the industry goes. And if we don't follow that and we don't lead that in the developments that we have in the pipeline and in the planning process, then we're not going to be around for 190 years. What ChubbSafe gives customers is trust, reliability, and robustness in the solutions that they have from us. And we will continue to do that. It's impossible to calculate, but how many euros, dollars, pounds are behind the doors of our products around the world, I hesitate to try and estimate. But ChubbSafe has been securing the assets of nations, royal families, individuals, and the banking industry around the world for 190 years. And that really tells you a lot about how our products are deemed in the marketplace. That reputation will continue to be built upon as we move into greater connectivity, greater security of communication. The people with the responsibility for those safes and strong rooms now have different roles. They may be working remotely, they may be working in a different environment where there are few of them around. Bank branches become fewer and fewer, but they become more connected. And being able to protect that asset within the bank, within the home, within anywhere, within any situation, ChubbSafe will be there with the solution as things evolve. It's an ever-changing world. Consider the fact that what your mobile phone would have looked like 25 years ago. Think of the computing power of that phone at that time. That's where our industry is going. People want instant accessibility, and that is where we will go. That's where standards will go over the coming years. Security has to be easy and simple to use. If it isn't, it doesn't get used. Locks don't get secured as often as they should. Operational protocols aren't as strictly followed as they should if they are complicated. So by having a simple and easy method of using the product, having a simple and easy to use security protocol, it gets used. Our products are always the last line of defense, and they will continue to be the last line of defense. What we have to ensure is that that last line of defense gets better and better as time moves on.
That brings us to the end of this edition of the Security Matters podcast. Many thanks indeed to David Hughes of Comelit-PAC, Alan O'Connor and Jason Hillier from Frontline Security Solutions, and also Mark Brookes of Gunnebo Safe Storage for their time and highly valued contributions. Many thanks also to our podcast sponsor, The Security Event. The Security Event runs from the 8th to the 10th of April 2025 at the NEC in Birmingham. To register for the show, visit www.theSecurityEvent.co.uk. Don't forget to visit our website at www.securitymattersmagazine.com, where you can access all of our podcasts and also read the latest news and opinion from the security business sector. You can view our dedicated features content and also sign up to receive our very popular weekly e-news bulletin. Please do contact us if there are any key themes or issues you would like us to explore on upcoming editions of the podcast. You can do so on X, formerly Twitter of course, by using the hashtag SecurityPod. On that note, make sure you follow us on X at WBMSecMatters and access our LinkedIn page at Security Matters Magazine and website. Please do like and share the podcast content and spread the word among your industry colleagues. You can listen to the Security Matters podcast for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube or Podbean. To download the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, all you need to do is enter the term Security Matters into your chosen platform search box. We'll see you next time.